Hello everybody and welcome to the Rocky and Derrick Show. If you like our interviews, please visit our website, rockyandderrickshow.com, and visit our photo and video galleries.
I'm Niobe.
Today we're at the Cultural Center with
Fanatic.
Who does?
I'm a record producer.
When did you start record producing?
Oh man, I've been producing for about 15, 16 years, maybe a little longer. I started off in Greensboro producing, then moved to New York and LA. Produced records for Michael Jackson, Beyonce, Notorious B.I.G, Lil Kim, Mace, Anthony Hamilton, Will Smith. I've been producing for a while.
What exactly inspired you to start this whole business?
I really didn't know I was producing at first. I always had a vision for what the record should sound like, and I kind of gravitated towards behind the scene with arranging and putting the records together, and then I realized it was producing, or somebody told me that's what a producer does. And so ever since then I just started studying other producers and what they did, producers from back in the day like Quincy Jones and Brian Wilson and Phil Spector, and just really studied their craft and how they were able to put the records together. Takes a lot of dealing with a lot of different personalities. There's some psychology involved, and just really helping people to get their music out or their ideas out and bring their ideas into fruition.
How did you meet these famous people like Michael Jackson?
Just through 6 degrees of separation. You will find that if you in the music business long enough, you know somebody that knows somebody, and you just kind of connect the dots and just build relationships, and eventually you can get to anybody you want to. We were doing it at a time where the internet wasn't a huge thing, so now you can really reach anybody out there. Anybody that you really want to get to, if you're relentless with it, you can get to them through social media. Just anything on the internet, you can Google, you can find contacts and things like that, and you can really get to anybody you really want to now.
Do you have anyone that you specifically looked up to, or a group of people you specifically looked up to that helped you in this industry?
Not per se. I had a lot of mentors, of course. P. Diddy was one of my mentors. Vincent Herbert was one of my mentors early in my career. Omar Rambert, who works with Will Smith. Those guys really just showed me how to build teams, and just understanding that putting a record together, it takes a team effort. It's not just one person's vision. It starts off with the songwriter, and starts off with then you do the music, and as you're doing all that, you may have other co-songwriters that will come in and become a part of the process. Other producers will come in and add on to the records. At Bad Boy, it was more like a assembly line. So you may start off with the original idea, and each producer were adding things to the record, and then eventually you would have the finished product, which would be something that was assembled by like 4 or 5 different producers to make it. And that's kind of like something they took from, there was a label back in the day called Motown, where they kind of did the same thing, where you have multiple songwriters and musicians working on it. So when you think about it, you have all these great talented people working on your record, so you're probably going to come out with a good product on a regular basis because of all the talent that's involved with the creation of the record.
How much money do you make doing this?
Well, you used to make a lot of money doing this, but now because of the internet, it's kind of been minimalized now, so you don't make as much as you used to make. If you get a hit record, you can make money off of royalties. The money is in publishing and licensing your records in film and TV. So if you get a song and you put it in a TV commercial or a film, you can make a lot of money that way. But as far as just straight up producing records for people, it's so oversaturated with so many producers, whereas you were getting $30,000 for to produce a record back in the day. Now it's probably like cut in half to 15. So it's production has been it's really simplistic now. So a lot of people are just snatching sounds off of the internet and using the same sounds. Everybody's programming versus playing live instruments. I mean, I always tell people to play live instruments because you're going to play the guitar differently than I'm going to play the guitar, and she's going to play differently than you play it. And you can add all kinds of effects that will change and alter the sound of the guitar. So when you're putting live instruments on a record, you can create a sound that nobody else has, which will give you a signature sound that people will go to you for. And I think if people get back to that, then music it'll feel a lot different than it is now, where it all sounds the same, you know.
Do you like movies or songs better?
That's a toss up there. Both of them have the ability to tell a story. Visually, you can tell one story, but I just like the way music is, because it's like you can tell a story with the lyrics, and then you have the music as the bed that evokes emotion as well.
Who did you like working with the most?
That's a toss up. Probably it's a close tie between Beyonce and Michael Jackson. Both of them, well, Beyonce, for one, I learned a lot just having conversation with her and really just studying her process. She's a real perfectionist. She works really hard at not just laying vocals and recording, but she's very heavily involved with the mixing of the record and making sure it's delivered. So she has a vision for the record just as much as the producer does, which most artists don't do that. Most artists, they just sing the record and they just let it go from there and rely on the producer. But she's very well connected to every aspect of the record from start to finish. Michael Jackson was more about, he's a perfectionist as well. Before we even started the song, he worked with his vocal coach for like 2 hours just warming up his vocals before he even went in the booth and sang, which most people don't do that anymore. So he was a real perfectionist, and it was cool working with him as well.
What's your favorite genre of music and movie?
Movies, probably romance movies for me. I like the dynamics of, you know, relationships and the various different ways they can be interpreted. Music, I don't really have a specific genre of music that I love. I love all of them. I really like when they mix genres to create music. When you look back at all the icons that exist, they all were a fusion of multiple genres of music. And when you do that, then you bring people in the room that ordinarily wouldn't pay attention to your music. So if you're mixing, say, rock and hip-hop, you know, most hip-hop people don't listen to rock and vice versa. But if you fuse them together, now you have two audiences coming into the room to witness that and get into it.
How long does it usually take
to
produce an album?
Album, very, very long time. Records, not so much, but album, well, I'll put it like this. We're in a space now where most people do EPs and singles, so they don't really do album projects as much as they used to. So it doesn't take as long as it used to. For me, I feel like you gotta live and experience things, and you gotta put a cohesive piece together that takes you on a journey musically, and that takes a while to do that. So most albums take maybe 6 to 8 months to do, top to bottom.
What do you think about today's type of music?
I like it. It's interesting. There's a lot of different things out there. There's a lot of genres of music out there now that are like considered popular music now. So I like a lot of the new artists. I just the only thing I don't like about it is now we have artists that are more interested in becoming famous than they are like really expressing themselves through their art. You have some artists that are in that space that are really trying to be very creative and innovative, and then you have a bunch of other artists that are just trying to be famous. And part of that is their fault, and part of it is the record company's fault, because the record companies have been exploiting artists for centuries, and so now they've kind of like got us in this place where people believe that you can become filthy rich overnight, and it's all about a hit record versus building a career. So you have all these artists that have one big hit record and then you never hear from them again. So when you go in the studio and you go in there trying to make a hit record versus just trying to creatively express yourself, it changes the dynamics of how the music is made. So, you know, you start doing things that have already been done before that are successful. So, you know, it's not organic. You're more or less trying to force something that has already happened to happen again. So it alters the music and the creative process.
Who's your favorite music artist?
Right now, I like Kanye. I like Big Sean. I like some of the new stuff Kendrick is doing. Who else do I like? I really like it all. I don't really have a particular favorite artist. I listen to a lot of pop music, a lot of rock music. I listen to a lot of soul music. So I listen to a little bit of everything, really. Actually, what I do is every Tuesday night on Spotify, the new music comes out. So I usually take time and just go through all the new music that comes out every Tuesday and just listen to everybody's new record. Because the thing about it is, as you're getting older, you still want to stay in touch with what's going on. So you have to study and you have to see what the trends are. You don't have to love the music, but you have to understand it. So I listen every Tuesday to everything that's coming out, and I'm a fan of the creative process. So anybody that's able to take their thoughts in their head and turn it into song and make people feel something and touch people, I'm cool with that. I love that process.
Have you ever had a run-in where a music company has tried to change who you are?
I haven't, because I've always been behind the scene as a producer, but I have had them try to alter my music and make changes to my music creatively. And most of the time it's probably somebody that is not a creative person. So you usually have like an A&R who can't make music, but he sits behind the desk and tells you what it should sound like. So that can be frustrating at times, but you just have to really be able to believe in your vision and be able to articulate it to the A&R and to the label, and just let them know, you know, where you're going with it and what you're trying to convey through your music.
What is your favorite song that you've produced?
For me, it's probably Speechless by Beyonce, because when I did that record, I took her in a direction that she had never been before, talking about certain things that, you know, adult subject matter that she had never dealt with before. So it was like her transition from going from a young star to a actual woman and expressing herself through her music. So that was a big thing for her. But most people would probably say Crush on You by Lil Kim, because that's like a record that everybody knows. It's probably one of her biggest records that she's ever done. And she didn't even like the song when we did the song, but like Biggie told her that she needed to record this song. It was going to change her life. And she ended up recording it. But, you know, that probably is the song that everybody knows. It's kind of interesting when you're in the party years later and that record comes on and you're like in the corner just watching everybody react to it, and it's like nobody knows in the room that you made that record, but just to see people move to it and still appreciate it after all these years makes you feel like, you know, you did something good that will continue to touch people from here on out, you know.
What's the thing you love the most about creating music?
For me, I love the creative process of making music, where you have a thought in your head and then you can bring it to life. So I have this unique gift where I can hear the song from start to finish. I know what all the instruments sound like. I know what the vocals sound like. I know what the record is supposed to sound like before we even lay one note on the song. And a lot of times I'll record voice memos in my phone, different parts, different instruments, and then when you get in the studio, you just you bring in musicians and artists to help you bring those sounds to life. And you know, you don't always hit it out the park. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't, but when it does, it's like amazing that like you could actually have a thought that could turn into something like that.
How can people get in contact with you?
You can reach me on my social media pages. My Instagram is Experience Fanatic. Facebook is Experience Fanatic as well. We also have a collective out here in Greensboro called the Culture Pushers, which is a collective of musicians and creative artists out here that I work with. So you can follow the Culture Pushers on our page. at the Culture Pushers on Instagram. And just follow me on those two platforms. I'm always on there. We're always posting new music and things that we're doing. So just follow us.
If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go?
If I had to live anywhere in this world and do music, it would probably be London. London seems to have a real appreciation for our music and our culture. They love American music, they love American culture, and they really appreciate it. I think probably a little bit more than we do here. So I would probably go to London and do that.
What advice would you give to children out there who are aspiring to be actresses and actors or singers?
Just really focus and like really work hard relentlessly on their career. The thing about it is so many people are trying to do it. It's a very difficult field to get into, but it's not impossible. So the first thing they should do is study. Like study great actors from the past, great musicians, great artists from the past, and you can learn something from their process and the things that they went through. So studying is the first thing, and then the second thing is just you have to just be relentless and not let anything get in the way of you, going for your dream. It's a very difficult thing, and it's really just a test of endurance. So those people that continue to go on and do what they want to do in those fields, while everybody else is telling them they can't do it, only you know what you can do. You and God know better than anybody. You know yourself better than anybody. So don't ever let anybody tell you can't do this, you can't make it. I went through that my whole career when I first started out with, your parents and everybody else telling you around you that you can't make it but when you think about it, is most of those people don't really know anybody that's ever made it. So to them, it's, they can't really wrap their brain around the fact that my child could actually make it in the music business or as an actress or my friend or whatever. So you just have to believe in your dream, believe in yourself, and you have to work really hard at it and just be very relentless. Like, I never in a million years thought I couldn't make it. That thought never crossed my mind. It was always, if this avenue didn't work, I'm gonna go this way. And I just kept going, and the next thing you know, I was where I was supposed to be.
Well, thank you, Fanatic, and thank you for tuning in to the Rocky and Derrick Show. Please remember to like and subscribe, and if you would like to sponsor or support, please go to rockyandderrickshow.com, and thank you for watching. Bye.